An employee unknowingly serves a plate of food to Elon Musk. The morning sun had yet to rise above the sleek, glass-covered skyline of Palo Alto when Maria Rodriguez pulled into the employee lot of Innovate Cafe. Her 2008 Toyota Corolla let out a groan as she turned off the engine, the sound bouncing in the pre-dawn stillness. For a brief second, she rested her forehead against the steering wheel. "Just one more double," she murmured softly, almost as if convincing herself. "Just one more." The digital clock on her dashboard blinked 5:47 a.m. A buzz from her phone pulled her attention, a text from her mom. "Did you sleep, Meja? Don't overwork yourself." Maria felt a lump form in her throat as she replied, "I'm fine, Mama. Take your medicine, okay? Love you." She didn't mention that she'd squeezed in just 3 hours of sleep between shifts. Her mom already had too much to deal with, between treatments and bills. At the back entrance of Innovate Cafe, the buzz of morning prep was well underway. The pastry team had been working since 4 a.m., crafting artisanal croissants and morning buns that would disappear before 9 a.m. The comforting aroma of freshly baked bread mingled with the sharpness of espresso, enveloping Maria like a cozy embrace as she pushed open the door. "Ah, my favorite morning servers here," called Jake, the line cook, from behind the prep station. His tattooed arms were dusted with flour, despite the early hour. "You look like hell," he teased. "Thanks, Jake." "Always the charmer," Maria quipped back, forcing a weary smile as she clocked in. "Any new chef nightmares on the menu I should brace for?" she asked, adjusting her apron and tucking her order pad into its pocket. Jake rolled his eyes theatrically. "Oh, you'll love this." The chef's gone full Silicon Valley fever dream. "We've got a $75 deconstructed avocado toast, complete with its own origin story and QR code for each ingredient." "You're joking." "I wish. And get this, the microgreens? We have to arrange them like a circuit board, with tweezers." Their banter was cut short by the sharp clack-clack of expensive heels against the tiled floor. Sandra Chen, the floor manager, emerged from her office like a general heading to battle. Her iPad, held firmly in one hand, seemed more like a shield, and her immaculately tailored blazer paired with flawless makeup made Maria hyper-aware of the wrinkles on her mandated designer uniform. "Morning meeting, everyone. Circle up." Sandra's voice carried that particular forced cheer that made Maria's teeth ache. The staff reluctantly shuffled together near the prep station, clutching coffee cups like lifelines, their faces still clouded with sleep. "Big day, team," Sandra announced, tapping her iPad with a manicured nail. "We've got 3 venture capital lunch meetings scheduled in the private dining room, and an employee unknowingly serves a plate of food to Elon Musk. Word around the cafe is that at least one big-name tech CEO might be stopping by today." Sandra turned her sharp gaze to James. "James, I need you on VIP service," she said firmly. James, ever the polished fine dining professional with his perfectly styled hair, gave a slight bow. "Absolutely, Sandra. I'll make sure the Riedel decanters are spotless." Maria couldn't help but notice Jake's exaggerated gagging motion from behind the prep station, and she quickly bit her lip to suppress a laugh. Sandra carried on with the morning briefing, but Maria's thoughts started to drift to her mounting to-do list, polishing the table settings, checking wine temperatures, and committing the intricate menu descriptions to memory. "Maria!" Sandra's sharp tone jolted her back to reality. "Did you hear anything I just said?" "Sorry, Sandra. Could you repeat that?" Sandra let out a sigh so pointed it could have wilted a succulent. "I said you're covering sections 3 through 5 today." Sophia called in sick again. Maria's heart sank. Those sections meant handling 12 tables, all through the chaotic lunch rush. "But I'm already on a double shift," she protested. We all have to pitch in during challenging times. Sandra cut her off smoothly, her tone far too rehearsed. Think of it as a chance to earn more tips. As the staff dispersed to prepare their stations, Jake leaned closer to Maria and whispered, "Pretty sure challenging times don't apply when you're charging $30 for a green juice. But hey, what do I know? I just make the food." And then, the morning rush hit like a storm. The cafe was soon teeming with its usual mix of tech workers, startup founders, and venture capitalists. All of them seemed determined to outdo each other with their intricate coffee orders and requests for protein-packed breakfast bowls. Maria moved on autopilot, her tired feet shuffling her from one table to the next. "Is the egg white frittata free-range and locally sourced?" asked a woman clad in yoga gear that likely cost more than Maria's monthly rent. "Yes, ma'am," Maria replied, her tone smooth and practiced. "Our eggs come from Happy Hen Farms, just 30 miles away. They're certified organic." "Wagyu sliders," she announced with a practiced server's smile, carefully placing the plates on the table. "One with aioli, one with sauce on the side. Is there anything else I can get for you?" The man barely lifted his eyes from his phone, giving a faint nod. "Thanks," he muttered, already reaching for the slider with extra sauce. "Enjoy your meal, sir," Maria responded automatically before turning to check on her other tables. She had 2 more orders to input, a bill to deliver to table 15, and she still needed to memorize the ingredients in the new seasonal cocktails before the dinner shift started. She was halfway to the service station when she sensed something off. The usual background hum of laptop keys clattering and startup conversations had quieted, replaced by an almost electric buzz in the air. She glanced around and noticed phones being raised, not for the typical food shots, but aimed toward table 12. A sudden hand grabbed her arm, and she turned to see Amy, one of the newer servers. Amy's wide eyes were brimming with disbelief. "Maria," she whispered urgently, "do you know who you just served?" And that's when Maria's otherwise ordinary Tuesday shift took a very unexpected turn. Her heart skipped a beat as she glanced back toward table 12. Diners were trying to act casual, sneaking glances at the table in question. Some weren't even pretending, openly snapping photos with their phones. "Amy, what are you talking about?" Maria's voice dropped to a whisper, though she wasn't sure why she felt the need to whisper. That's, Amy stammered, gripping Maria's arm tighter, seemingly unable to get the words out. Before Maria could press her further, the kitchen doors swung open, and Sandra stormed out like a perfectly composed hurricane. Her usual polished exterior was gone. Her face had turned an alarming shade of pale. Without a word, Sandra made a beeline for Maria, heels clicking faster than seemed possible. "Maria," Sandra hissed, grabbing her other arm. "Break room. Now." "But I have tables." Before she could finish, Maria found herself being half-dragged through the service entrance, past the prep stations. Jake stood frozen in place, his jaw hanging open, a squeeze bottle of truffle aioli suspended mid-squeeze in his hand. Chef Marcus leaned against the wall, his chef's hat clutched tightly as if he might pass out. The break room door closed behind them with a soft click that somehow felt ominously final, like the sound of a cell door locking. "Did you read the special instructions?" Sandra's voice was eerily calm, which only made the situation more unsettling. "What special instructions?" Maria asked, confusion mounting. "The VIP table instructions." Sandra snapped, her composure beginning to crack. "The ones I specifically went over with James this morning." Maria's mind scrambled, sifting through fragments of the morning meeting. She'd been so preoccupied, thinking about her mother's medical bills, the looming double shift, everything she had to juggle. I must have missed that part." Sandra sank into one of the break room chairs, burying her face in her hands. Oh God! "Oh God! Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I served a customer their lunch," Maria replied, confusion and tension spilling into her voice. Defensiveness crept into her voice. The Wagyu sliders were served exactly as ordered. "You just served Elon Musk." Sandra's voice rose to a pitch that could probably shatter glass, or at least grab the attention of every dog in Palo Alto. "Elon Musk, the richest man on Earth, the owner of X, Tesla, SpaceX, and you treated him like just any ordinary customer. Like a normal customer," Maria finished weakly. "He specifically requested James." Sandra was now pacing furiously around the tiny break room. James, with his Level 2 sommelier certification. James, who spent 3 years at French Laundry. Not, she gestured dramatically at Maria, not someone who's been here all of 3 months. Maria's face burned with embarrassment. "I didn't know. Nobody told me. And anyway, I served him properly, didn't I? The food was correct. I was polite." "Polite?" Sandra looked like she might keel over. "Polite isn't good enough. This is Elon Musk. We were supposed to have the special reserve wine list ready, the chef's tasting menu, a private dining room." Through the break room window, Maria could see the dining area had transformed into a hive of barely contained excitement. Several diners had completely forgotten about their meals, openly gawking at table 12. The man, no, Elon Musk, seemed entirely unfazed, focused on his phone and occasionally taking enormous bites of his slider. Chef Marcus poked his head into the break room. Sandra? He wants to order dessert." Sandra instantly straightened, smoothing the fabric of her blazer as if that could somehow fix the situation. "I'll take care of it personally. I'll explain the mix-up, apologize for not providing the VIP experience he requested." "He specifically asked for the same server," Marcus interrupted. "Said he doesn't want any fuss." All eyes turned to Maria. Sandra looked torn, visibly wrestling between her rigorous hospitality training and what seemed to be a deep-seated desire to lock Maria in the walk-in freezer. Finally, professionalism won out. "Maria," Sandra said through clenched teeth, "you will go back out there. You will take his dessert order. You will be polite, professional, courteous, but not overbearing. Do not mention Tesla, do not mention SpaceX, and for the love of all that's holy, do not bring up his tweets." "I get it," Maria cut her off, tying her apron a little tighter. "Treat him like a normal person. That's what I've been doing anyway." As she stepped toward the break room door, Jake caught her eye through the window. Jake gave her a thumbs up. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders. She could do this. After all, what was the worst that could happen? The walk to table 12 felt like crossing a minefield. She could feel every eye in the room, every diner, every server, every food runner, locked on her. The man, she couldn't bring herself to think of him as Elon Musk, was still lost in his phone, the empty slider plates pushed aside. "Would you like to see our dessert menu, sir?" Her voice came out steadier than expected. He glanced up, and for the first time she caught a good look at his face. The dark circles under his eyes were even more noticeable up close. He looked tired and maybe a little lonely. "What do you recommend?" he asked, setting his phone down. "Something not too sweet." Maria's autopilot server training kicked in. "Our chef makes an excellent dark chocolate tart with sea salt and olive oil. It comes with house-made vanilla bean ice cream on the side." "Perfect," he replied, then added with a slight smile, "and maybe another coffee. The real kind, not one of those fancy ones with the—" He waved his hand vaguely. "Mushrooms or whatever." A surprised laugh escaped before Maria could stop it. One regular coffee coming right up. As she turned to put in the order, she overheard snippets of conversation from nearby tables. Should we say something? Do you think he's working on a new project? I can't believe he's just sitting there eating a burger like a normal person. The rest of the service felt like a surreal haze. Maria brought the coffee, plain black, no adaptogenic mushrooms in sight, and the chocolate tart. She somehow kept her hands steady as she set them down, even though she could feel the weight of dozens of phones recording her every move. What struck her most was how normal it all felt. Despite knowing who he was now, despite Sandra having what seemed to be a silent breakdown by the host's stand, despite the barely contained excitement that buzzed in the air, nothing felt extraordinary. Chaos in the kitchen. It was just another table, another customer, another Tuesday lunch service. As she dropped off the check, Sandra had insisted on covering the entire meal, but he had firmly declined. He glanced up from his phone one last time and said, "Thank you," simply. "It's nice to be treated like a person sometimes." Maria nodded, not trusting herself to speak, and went to help her other tables. By the time she returned to collect the payment, he was gone. A generous, though not outrageous, tip had been left on the table along with a half-eaten chocolate tart and an empty coffee cup. The usual rhythm of the restaurant slowly resumed, though there was an electric undercurrent of excitement that would likely fuel gossip for weeks. Maria's phone buzzed in her apron pocket, probably her mother wondering why she was suddenly trending on social media. As she cleared table 12, Jake appeared at her elbow. "So," he said, trying and failing to suppress a grin. "Just another Tuesday, huh?" Maria looked at the empty plates, thinking about the surreal turn her day had taken. "You know what's crazy? Those Wagyu sliders you made. They might end up being the most famous burgers in Silicon Valley." "Famous burgers?" Jake corrected her. "Served by the most normal person in Silicon Valley. You didn't even flinch when you realized who he was." "I was too tired to flinch," Maria admitted. 3 double shifts will do that to you." The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, catching the empty coffee cup she was clearing. Just an ordinary cup used by an extraordinary person, served by someone who didn't even know the difference. Maria couldn't help but wonder if that's exactly what he'd wanted all along. Sandra was still hovering nearby, alternating between checking her phone and shooting worried glances at the door, as if expecting Elon Musk to return with a complaint. But somehow, Maria knew he wouldn't. Something told her that for him, this had been exactly what he was looking for, a brief moment of normalcy in what must be an incredibly abnormal life. As she headed back to the kitchen with the dirty dishes, Maria smiled to herself. Sometimes, the most remarkable moments come disguised as ordinary ones, served alongside Wagyu sliders and plain black coffee on a random Tuesday afternoon. The rest of her double shift stretched ahead of her, but somehow she felt less tired than before. After all, if she could accidentally serve lunch to Elon Musk without having a meltdown, the dinner rush would be a piece of cake. Or, she thought with a quiet laugh, a piece of dark chocolate tart with sea salt and olive oil. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through Innovate Cafe's floor-to-ceiling windows as Maria tried to process what had just happened. Her hands trembled slightly as she organized receipts at the service station, her mind replaying every moment of the interaction. "I still can't believe you didn't recognize him," Amy whispered for the 10th time, hovering nearby while pretending to polish wine glasses. "How did you not know?" Maria shot her a weary look. "I was thinking about my tables, Amy, about my mom's medical bills, about making it through another double shift. I wasn't exactly scanning the news for billionaire facial recognition." "But it's Elon Musk." Amy's voice rose slightly, causing Sandra to shoot them a warning glance from the host stand. "Not everyone spends their free time following tech brothers on social media," Maria replied, sorting another stack of receipts. "Some of us have actual lives to worry about." Jake appeared from the kitchen, sliding a plate of freshly baked cookies onto the service counter. "Leave her alone, Amy. If you ask me, that's exactly why he stayed. Probably sick of people falling all over themselves every time he walks into a room." Speaking of falling all over themselves, Maria nodded toward the dining room, where several groups of customers were still lingering at their tables, phones in hand, trying to snap photos of where he had sat. Table 12 had already become somewhat of a shrine, with people requesting to be seated there specifically. Sandra approached their little group, her heels clicking ominously on the hardwood floor. She'd spent the last hour alternating between checking social media and making frantic calls to the restaurant owner. "Maria," she said, her voice carefully controlled, "we need to talk about what happened. I already apologized." "No, not that." Sandra held up her iPad. Maria leaned in to look at the screen. Someone had posted a video of her serving the Wagyu sliders. The caption read, "Watch this server treat Elon Musk like a regular person. Respect." The video had already racked up over 100,000 views. Oh God, Maria felt her stomach drop. Is this bad? Should I not have? Sandra's laugh had a slightly hysterical edge to it. It's gone viral. Innovate Cafe is trending. We've gotten more reservation requests in the last hour than in the past month. Jake peered over Maria's shoulder at the iPad. Check out the comments. Maria scrolled. Finally, someone treating billionaires like normal humans. That server deserves a raise. Most genuine service I've seen. No kissing up, no special treatment. This is how you treat people regardless of their bank account. The comments kept coming. Maria felt slightly dizzy. "I don't understand," she said. "All I did was my job." "Exactly." Sandra's voice took on a reverent tone. "Do you know how rare that is? How many places would have completely lost their minds?" She paused. The manager at Bistro Tech nearly had an aneurysm when he found out Elon Musk had been here instead of their restaurant. The cafe's phone rang again, and it hadn't stopped ringing since the video went viral. One of the hosts answered it and then held the receiver out to Sandra. "It's CNBC," she said. "They want to do a segment on the server who didn't know." Maria backed away, holding up her hands. "No way. I'm not doing interviews. I'm not becoming some viral sensation. I just want to do my job and take care of my mom." "But, Maria," Sandra protested, "this could be huge for the restaurant. For your career." "What career?" Maria snapped. "I'm a server because I need flexible hours to help my mom with her treatments. I'm not looking to become some social media star." The kitchen door swung open, and Chef Marcus emerged, his face flushed with excitement. "You are not going to believe this. The Tesla corporate office just called. They want to book our entire restaurant for their next board meeting." Sandra looked like she might faint from joy. "Did they specify any particular server?" she asked pointedly. Actually, Marcus glanced at Maria. They did ask if the same server would be available. Maria felt all the blood drain from her face. "No, absolutely not. I can't." Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She pulled it out, expecting another text from her mom. Instead, she saw a notification that nearly made her drop the phone into a bus tub of dirty dishes. Elon Musk had followed her on Twitter. "This isn't happening," she muttered, gripping the edge of the service station. "This can't be happening." But it was happening. Her phone was blowing up with notifications as her follower count skyrocketed. People were finding her social media accounts, sharing old photos, commenting on everything she'd ever posted. "Could we get a photo with you over here too? Can you sign our menu? Are you really just a regular server?" The questions and photo requests came from all directions. Maria felt like she was drowning in attention she never wanted. Jake appeared at her side, solid and, "Take 5, he said quietly. "Go hide in the walk-in freezer if you need to. I'll cover your tables." Maria nodded gratefully and slipped away into the kitchen. She made her way past the prep stations, past the dish pit, all the way to the walk-in freezer. The blast of cold air as she stepped inside helped ground her, clearing her mind. She pulled out her phone again, her hands shaking slightly as she opened the video that had started it all. There she was, completely unaware, serving lunch to one of the most famous people in the world. The comments kept pouring in. She treated him with such natural respect. No fake smiling or sucking up, just genuine service. This is how everyone should be treated, no matter their status. A text from her mother popped up. "Mija, why are reporters calling our house?" Maria leaned against a shelf of frozen desserts, closing her eyes. How had a simple lunch service turned into this circus? The freezer door opened, letting in a blast of warm kitchen air. Amy poked her head in. Maria, there's someone from Time magazine on the phone. They want to do a piece on the great equalizer of Silicon Valley. That's what they're calling you." Maria couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity. The great equalizer? I'm just a server who was too tired to recognize a famous person. That's it. That's the whole story. But that's why people love it. Amy insisted, stepping fully into the freezer. In a world where everyone's trying to go viral, trying to get noticed, trying to be special, you treated one of the most powerful men in the world like a regular person. Do you know how rare that is? Maria pulled her apron tighter around herself, trying to warm up. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it to make a statement. I just did my job. Maybe that is the statement, Amy said softly. The kitchen printer started chattering with new orders, and Maria could hear Sandra's voice rising above the general din, probably fielding another media request. I should get back out there, Maria sighed. Those tables won't serve themselves, viral video or not. As she pushed open the freezer door, Chef Marcus was waiting outside with a strange look on his face. What now? Maria asked, dreading the answer. Please don't tell me Oprah called. No, Marcus said slowly, but you might want to see this. He held out his phone. On the screen was a new post from Elon Musk. Best service I've had in years at Innovate Cafe. No fuss, no special treatment, just genuine human interaction. This is what we need more of in the world. P.S. The Wagyu sliders were great, but easy on the truffle aioli next time at Chef Marcus. The post already had millions of likes and retweets. He tagged us, Marcus said, looking like he might cry from joy. He tagged me. Maria's phone buzzed again and again. Sandra appeared, practically vibrating with excitement. Maria! Maria, you have to see. I saw. Maria cut her off. Look, can we just get through the rest of service, please? I have actual customers to take care of. Sandra looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Maria's expression made her pause. Of course, Sandra finally said, but maybe stick to the back sections. Table 12 is becoming a bit of a tourist attraction. Maria nodded gratefully. As she headed back to the dining room, Maria could feel the weight of eyes following her, phones aimed in her direction, whispers trailing in her wake. But she held her head high, keeping her focus on the task at hand. As she approached her next table, a child's voice broke through the noise. Mommy, is that the famous waitress? Famous waitress? The words felt strange, like an ill-fitting uniform. She wasn't famous. She was just Maria, Isabella Rodriguez's daughter, who needed this job to help pay for her mother's cancer treatments. She had worked double shifts, learned to smile through exhaustion, and served countless overpriced avocado toasts to tech entrepreneurs, never once imagining she'd become a viral sensation. Jake caught her eye through the kitchen window and mimed taking a deep breath. She followed his advice, centering herself before addressing her next table. "Hi, I'm Maria, and I'll be taking care of you today. Can I start you off with any drinks?" The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. Orders, questions, and poorly concealed photos. Maria lost count of how many times she had to decline interview requests or politely turn down offers to take selfies with customers. As the sun began to set, casting an orange glow through the windows, Sandra called the staff together for an emergency meeting. "All right, people," she began, clutching her head like a lifeline. "As you all know, we've had an unusual day. Corporate is thrilled with the publicity, but they want us to handle this carefully. No unauthorized interviews, no social media posts without approval, and most importantly," she fixed her gaze on Maria, "we need to maintain the genuine, unpretentious service that made us go viral in the first place." Maria fought the urge to roll her eyes. Trust corporate to try to manufacture authenticity. Sandra continued, "We're fully booked for the next 3 months. Every tech company in Silicon Valley wants to host their events here. They're calling us the most authentic dining experience in tech, all because we served a burger to a billionaire." Jake muttered under his breath, "Because we served it like we would to anyone else." Amy quickly corrected him, "Exactly." After the meeting, Maria sat alone in the break room, finally checking her phone. Hundreds of messages, thousands of notifications, and dozens of missed calls. Her Instagram followers had jumped from 200 to over 50,000 in a matter of hours. A text from her mother caught her eye. "I don't understand what's happening, Mija, but I am proud of you. I always have been, viral video or not." Maria felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. In the chaos of it all, her mother's words were the only ones that truly mattered. Just then, the break room door opened. Jake walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee, the regular kind, no adaptogenic mushrooms in sight. "Thought you might need this," he said, sliding 1 cup toward her. "Crazy day, huh?" Maria took a grateful sip. "I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and realize this was all some weird dream. Like, maybe I fell asleep during the morning meeting and just imagined the whole thing." Jake grinned. "Nope, you really did serve lunch to Elon Musk without batting an eye. And now you're famous for being normal." "Only in Silicon Valley," Maria said. "I don't want to be famous. I just want to do my job, take care of my mom, and go home at the end of the day without my face plastered all over social media." Jake was quiet for a moment, stirring his coffee thoughtfully. "You know what's kind of beautiful about all this? In a world where everyone's trying so hard to be special, you became special by just being yourself, by treating everyone, even the richest man in the world, with the same simple respect." Maria shook her head. "That's not beautiful. That's just decent human behavior." "Maybe that's why it went viral," Jake shrugged. "Because decent human behavior has become so rare, people are amazed when they see it." Maria's phone buzzed again, another news outlet requesting an interview. She silenced it without looking. "What am I going to do?" she asked, more to herself than to Jake. "Same thing you've always done," he replied. "Show up, work hard, take care of your mom. The viral stuff will blow over eventually. And hey, maybe all this attention will lead to something good. Better hours, better pay, maybe even some help with your mom's medical bills." Maria thought about that as she finished her coffee. Maybe he was right. Maybe something good could come from this unexpected spotlight. The sound of the dinner rush, starting to build, filtered through the break room door. Maria stood up, straightening her apron. Back to work. Jake asked. Back to work, she nodded. Famous or not, these tables won't serve themselves. As she pushed through the kitchen doors, ready to face whatever the evening might bring, Maria couldn't help but wonder what tomorrow would hold. But for now, she had a job to do, the same job she'd always done, with the same genuine care she'd always shown. Famous or not, she was still just Maria. And somehow, that had turned out to be more than enough. The morning after the Elon incident, as the staff had started calling it, Maria arrived at Innovate Cafe to find a small crowd already gathered outside. Several were holding professional cameras, and at least 2 news vans were parked across the street. "Oh no," she muttered, pulling her car into the back alley behind the restaurant. "No, no, no." Her phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "Come through the kitchen entrance, trust me." Maria parked next to the dumpsters, keeping her head down as she hurried to the staff door. Jake was waiting for her, holding it open. "Morning, celebrity," he grinned, quickly shutting the door behind her. "Don't," Maria groaned, hanging up her jacket. "Please don't." The kitchen was unusually quiet for morning prep time. Everyone seemed to be walking on eggshells, throwing curious glances her way. Chef Marcus was stressed chopping vegetables with more force than necessary, while the pastry team whispered among themselves. "Where's Sandra?" Maria asked, dreading the answer. "In her office," Jake replied, "having what she calls a strategic planning session. Corporate's been in there since 5 a.m. That can't be good." Sandra's voice rang out across the kitchen. She stood in her office doorway, looking simultaneously exhausted and, "Mannequin here now." Maria shot Jake a pleading look, but he just shrugged sympathetically. "Better you than me." Sandra's office was a mess of coffee cups and printed emails. Her usually pristine desk was cluttered with press releases and what looked like interview requests. The restaurant's owner, Mr. Chen, was on speakerphone. "Ah, Maria." His voice crackled through the speaker. "Just the person we need to talk to." Maria sank into the visitor's chair, her stomach churning. "Mr. Chen, I want to apologize for yesterday. I should have recognized." "Apologize?" Mr. Chen's laugh surprised her. "My dear, you've made Innovate Cafe the most talked-about restaurant in Silicon Valley. Our reservations are fully booked for months, and we've had inquiries from every major tech company about corporate events. The publicity is worth millions." Sandra nodded enthusiastically. "We've already had calls from Google, Apple, and Meta about hosting executive lunches. They all specifically requested you as their server." Maria felt the blood drain from her face. "Me? But I'm just the face of authentic service," Sandra finished. "That's what they're calling you, the server who treated a billionaire like a regular person. It's marketing gold." "I don't want to be marketing gold," Maria protested. "I just want to do my job." "This is your job now," Mr. Chen said firmly. "We're going to build an entire campaign around this. Innovate Cafe, where everyone gets the VIP treatment." Maria thought about her mother, about the stack of medical bills on their kitchen table. "Mr. Chen, I appreciate the opportunity, but I took this job because I needed flexible hours to help care for my mom. She's sick." "We'll double your salary," Mr. Chen interrupted. "Full benefits, including health insurance for both you and your mother. We'll work around any schedule you need for her care." Maria's breath caught in her throat. Health insurance for both of them? The cost of her mother's treatments had been crushing them, forcing Maria to take on extra shifts just to make the minimum payments. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Sandra urged. "This is a win-win for everyone. The restaurant gets publicity, you get better pay, and benefits, and your mother gets the care she needs." A knock on the office door interrupted them. Jake poked his head in, looking apologetic. "Sorry to interrupt, but— well, you should see this." He held out his phone. On the screen was a new post from Elon Musk. "Still thinking about that amazing service at Innovate Cafe? In a world of fake smiles and manufactured experiences, authenticity stands out. Hope they don't change." The post had already garnered millions of interactions, and Elon had posted again. Sandra practically squealed. "This is incredible, Maria. We need to." "We need to what?" Maria cut her off, suddenly finding her voice. "Turn me into some kind of performing monkey? Come watch the famous server treat you like a normal person." The office fell silent. Even Mr. Chan stopped talking on the speakerphone. "That's not what we—" Sandra began. "Isn't it?" Maria stood up, her hands shaking. "You want to turn my normal behavior into a marketing gimmick. But the whole point is, it wasn't a gimmick. It was just me doing my job, treating people with basic respect." Jake was still hovering in the doorway, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Mr. Chan cleared his throat through the speaker. "Maria, no one wants to change who you are. That's exactly what made this special. We just want to amplify it." Maria took a deep breath, thinking about her mother's medical bills and the opportunity being offered. "If I agree to this, I have conditions." Sandra leaned forward eagerly. "Of course, anything." "First," Maria said, "my mother's health care is non-negotiable. Full coverage, starting immediately." "Done," Mr. Chen agreed quickly. "Second," Maria continued, "I'm not doing interviews. No television appearances. No magazines. No podcasts. I'll do my job, and that's it." Sandra looked like she wanted to protest, but Mr. Chan cut her off. "Agreed." "And third," Maria added, gaining confidence, "I want Jake promoted to supervisor." Jake's head snapped up in surprise. "The kitchen staff has been understaffed and overworked for months," Maria explained. "Jake's been picking up the slack without any recognition or extra pay. If we're talking about authentic service, it starts with taking care of your team." There was a long pause on the speakerphone. Sandra was typing furiously on her iPad, probably crunching numbers. Finally, Mr. Chan spoke. "You drive a hard bargain, Maria, but you're right. Authenticity has to start from within. All of your conditions are accepted." Jake stared at Maria, a mix of shock and gratitude on his face. "One more thing," Maria added. "Those reporters outside, they need to go. I'm not sneaking through the back alley every morning." Sandra nodded. "I'll have security handle it." As Maria left the office, Jake fell into step beside her. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly. "The promotion thing?" "Yes, I did," Maria replied, tying on her apron. "Care of each other, right? That's what this place is supposed to be about." The morning prep was in full swing now, the kitchen alive with the usual rhythm of chopping, sizzling, and calls for ingredients. But there was a shift in the air, a sense of possibility, of change. Maria and Amy called from the dining room. "You need to see this." Maria followed Amy's voice, stopping short at the sight of table 12. It had been transformed overnight, with a small, tasteful plaque mounted on the wall. At this table, on an ordinary Tuesday, authenticity proved more valuable than status, the plaque read. A reminder that genuine service knows no hierarchy. "Corporate approved it this morning," Sandra explained, appearing behind them. "They want to lean into the authenticity angle, but subtly." Maria traced the words with her finger. Authenticity. Such a simple concept, yet somehow revolutionary in a world obsessed with status and influence. It's actually kind of beautiful, Amy mused. Not the plaque itself, but what it represents. Maria thought about everything that had led to this moment. Her exhaustion that day, her focus on her mother's needs, and her simple, unconscious decision to treat everyone the same. Yeah, she said softly, I know. The day progressed with its usual challenges, but now with a surreal quality. Customers still asked for photos, still tried to sit at table 12, still whispered and pointed. But something had shifted. The viral sensation was evolving into something more meaningful. During her break, Maria called her mother. Mama, good news. Really good news. As she explained about the healthcare coverage, the salary increase, and all the changes, she heard her mother crying softly on the other end. Mija, Isabella Rodriguez said, finally. All this from serving lunch? Maria laughed, wiping away her own tears. All this from just being myself, Mama. Who knew that would be enough? When she returned to the dining room, Jake was waiting with a fresh cup of coffee. Regular, no adaptogenic mushrooms in sight. So, he said, leaning against the service station, how does it feel to be a revolutionary? Maria rolled her eyes. I'm not a revolutionary. I'm just a server who reminded Silicon Valley that authentic human connection matters more than status. Jake finished for her. Sounds pretty revolutionary to me. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, catching the new plaque on the wall and making the words shine. Maria watched as customers read it, saw them nod thoughtfully, saw some of them put their phones away and actually engage with their companions. Maybe that was the real victory here. Not the viral video, not the publicity, not even the better contract. Maybe it was this simple reminder that genuine human connection still matters, even, or especially, in a world increasingly divided by status and wealth. Back to work? Jake asked, straightening his new sous chef jacket with pride. Maria smiled, picking up her order pad. Back to work. Because at the end of the day, that's what authenticity really was. Showing up, doing your best, treating people with respect, and taking. 1 week after the Elon incident, Maria was adjusting to what could now be called the new normal at Innovate Cafe. The initial media frenzy had quieted down, thanks to Sandra's strict enforcement of a no-press policy. The crowd of reporters had dwindled, leaving only the occasional hopeful photographer, and most customers had stopped asking for selfies. Maria was busy taking inventory at the service station when her phone slipped out of her apron pocket, landing with a splash right into her cup of break-room coffee. No, no, no. Maria quickly fished it out, but coffee had already started seeping into the phone case. Come on, not today. Amy, who was working nearby, looked up. Did you back up your photos? Most of them, Maria sighed, wiping the phone with her apron. But I need this phone working. My mom has a doctor's appointment tomorrow. The screen flickered once and then went dark. Perfect. Just perfect. Use my phone to call her, Amy offered. Maria shook her head. It's not just that. All my emails are on there, my calendar, my mom's medication schedule. She pressed the power button again, but the screen remained stubbornly black. Jake appeared from the kitchen, holding a fresh batch of his now famous Wagyu sliders. Phone trouble? Coffee trouble? He asked. Maria sighed, still trying to revive it. It's probably a sign I should take a break from all the social media chaos anyway. Sandra appeared, clutching her ever-present iPad. Maria, did you see the email I sent about the Tesla corporate lunch next week? They want to confirm the menu. Then her gaze shifted to the phone in Maria's hands. Why are you holding a dripping phone? Don't ask, Maria muttered. And no, I haven't seen the emails because my phone decided to take a swim in my coffee. Sandra's perfectly manicured eyebrows furrowed with concern. But you need to be reachable. We've got some of the biggest names in the tech industry making reservations specifically to experience your service. Maria, Sandra added. I am a server. I serve food. I don't need a working phone to do that. Maria paused. But I'll get a new one tomorrow. For now, can we just focus on actual work? The afternoon moved on, as normally as it could in a restaurant that had become Silicon Valley's hottest destination for tech executives hoping to appear authentic. Maria had served lunch to 3 startup CEOs, 2 venture capitalists, and what she was pretty sure was an entire team of AI researchers. Table 15 wants to know if you're the famous server, Amy reported, rolling her eyes. I told them we don't discuss that. Good answer, Maria nodded, arranging plates for her next table. Did they at least order food, or are they just here for the spectacle? 6 orders of the Wagyu sliders, Amy grinned. Jake's going to lose his mind. Hey, those sliders are paying for my new sous chef kitchen equipment. Jake called from the pass. Let them order hundreds. The dinner rush had just begun when Sandra hurried over to the service station, her face flushed with excitement. Maria, you need to see this right now.